What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Courtside Convos. Today's conversation is a injury report / waiver wire pickups for Week 16. Always on the channel, we're going to do like the beginning of the week on Mondays. The injury report, who's been injured, what's the waiver wire looking like, who's our people that we could probably pick up with those certain injuries that we have. This week it's not as interesting as maybe last week, but there is some interesting topics we'll talk about, which are kind of crazy that it's going to affect probably fantasy basketball crazy, like for the next upcoming future. I'm very excited though. It's going to be a nice little video, nice little thing that you should be paying attention to, because I think a lot of these will be doing very well if you pick them up. I'll also talk about that during the weeks, if some of these have been, like, new players have been ruled out, I'll make some shorts probably and saying, hey, today's players that have been ruled out, make sure you pick up X, Y, and Z type players, so then you do better, whatever it might be. So make sure you stay up with the channel and everything for that. But let's get started with Chicago Bulls of games with Minnesota, Memphis, or Orlando. Probably Minnesota and Orlando, maybe the hard ones, maybe not Memphis. We got some crazy news here. Zach LaVine is out for the rest of the year. Whoa, did we expect this? No. My last video I said that his return was probably this week, and then now they're saying, you know what, he's just going to do surgery, not working out for him. Which, if you're the Chicago Bulls, it does kind of make sense for you to just take him out for the rest of the year. Get your players healthy for next year. Is he going to be on the team next year is the biggest question. We'll have to see about that, because maybe a trade deadline trade was looking good for Zach LaVine. But I don't think so anymore. I don't think Zach LaVine will be traded now, especially with this injury. But Patrick Williams, another person that's been out for a while and is supposed to stay out till about the end of the month. Those are two stars that are out. And when we're looking at ads, if these two people are on your waiver wire, I would pick them up immediately. Alex Caruso and Ayo Dosunmu. When you look at it, they have played excellent. I talked about this last week, but Ayo has been somebody that has almost been that 40, 50, 90 club, which is insane to say for the Chicago Bulls. So when you're thinking of players that maybe could get a starting role, somebody that can get you some good points this week, those are the two players. You're already going to have DeMar, you're already going to have Kobe White, Nikola Vucevic, who are the players that are going to be surrounding that. And these are these players, maybe that instead, Torrey Craig's been out for a while too. I'm trying to think of some other players that could be big ads that have been playing nice. Jalen Phillips hasn't played that well yet. These are just the biggest players. And I think with Alex Caruso, there is a chance that he does get traded, so we'll have to see on him. But these are still huge players that I think will be excellent for a team. Up next, we have the Dallas Mavericks. And originally I had Kyrie here as a questionable person, but now he's looking good to play. But for the Dallas Mavericks, 4 games this week, which, makes me, I'll talk about that in a second, but it makes me kind of wonder what's going to happen. Luka, Derek Lively already ruled out for the Philly game. Who are some potential ads? Tim Hardaway Jr. is probably really added up now, high on your list because of all the other trades, maybe not getting him. Josh Green's a good pickup. Grant Williams has played excellent in some case scenarios. Maxi Kleber is another person that is questionable, but I do think that with the addition of Derek Lively out, that center position is going to be looked at as somebody that they can try and change around. Rashawn Holmes could be another pickup, maybe Dwight Powell, but I'd rather go Maxi Kleber with his offensive upside for our fantasy leagues and deep teams. Jane Hardy's another pickup. We saw Jane Hardy go off the other day for about 20 points or something with Kyrie out. Would that happen again? Probably not. But maybe Luka out, it could. We'll have to see. But Luka is questionable for a Phillies game, which brings me to my Which brings me to my next point, that with Luka potentially being out for the Philly, because this stretch is probably, I think the games with Philly is tonight when this video is uploading. Brooklyn game I think is Wednesday, New York Friday, and OKC Saturday. I want to say that. That's what I want to say. And if that is true with what I've just said, probably resting Luka for this next upcoming Brooklyn and New York Knicks and OKC especially stretch might be fair to rest him for this Philly game. Will they do it? Probably not. But Philly is still a good, decent team. Just with Joel Embiid, maybe not as well. We'll talk about Philly later on. But if Luka is out, you have to pick up some players because somebody will have to be popping off for them to go against Philly. And with Philly injuries, it looks like there's a good chance someone would pop off. Up next, the Detroit Pistons. Originally, Cade Cunningham was questionable, but not as much anymore. But we're still going to talk about Isaiah Stewart because he is out for a while, February 13th, potentially longer even. Games with Sacramento, Portland, and Clippers. That Portland game, I bet it's going to be an offensive game that's kind of going to go crazy. I'm already expecting that. Potential ads for me, Alec Burks. If he is still on your waiver wire, pick up Alec Burks, especially when Cade Cunningham's out. When Cade Cunningham out, Alec Burks does his thing. He scores the ball. He knows how well. And with Cade being off this unquestionable, not being able to play, not being able to play randomly, Alec Burks is a great pickup. That's why I added him here. That's why I added a Piston slide because we're not just going to talk about Isaiah Stewart. Alec Burks is a good pickup. Another person I'm thinking about, I wouldn't say Sasser. I would maybe say... Nope, I would just stick with Alec Burks because I think with Ivy, Duran, Asar, if Asar is somehow still on your waiver wire, pick up Asar because I think he's shown some promise, especially with what just happened with last night's game against, I can't remember who they just went against. I literally watched the game. Orlando with Mo Wagner gained a lot of the boards. Asar Thompson also gained a lot of the boards and had a really good performance. So that's somebody that you could be looking at potentially as a pickup. Don't know his availability, but I'm still just waiting to mention him just in case he is available in some of your leagues. But with Ivy, Cade, Bojan, Duran, those are players and Asar. Those are all players that are probably going to look at more than Alec Burks. But with Cade out, Alec Burks has a real chance of doing very well. And I like him for the future. Up next, Golden State Warriors. Next games against Brooklyn, Philly, Indiana, and Phoenix to round off the road trip. Andrew Wiggins, questionable for this next upcoming Nets game, which is going to be a little bit interesting. Chris Paul, of course, is out. Darius Saric, also questionable. I add him in here because I think if... with Draymond, I have seen Draymond and Trace Jackson Davis play side by side, which I did not think would be a possibility ever in my basketball watching self. But they have, it's kind of crazy because they both remind me of each other. Maybe Trace Jackson Davis just a little younger, a little bit more athletic, driving to the hoop, dunking on players. But Draymond used to be able to do that back in his days, so... We'll see. But if you're in a deeper league, I would say Trace Jackson Davis is a good pickup for a nice backup center or somebody that could potentially play if a Draymond or a Kevon Looney would play out, which they have not liked Kevon Looney this season, by the way. This is I know a lot of people thought he would break out or something because of Stewell playing last year when it came to rebounding the ball in the playoffs, but not played as well. Trace Jackson Davis has gotten more minutes sometimes than him. But potential ads, I hope that if you're watching this video, I hope you believed in me and listened to me when I said to pick up Braden Podziemski for the 5 waiver wire ads for us this season. Because Braden Podziemski has gone off these past couple of games, especially in 9-cat leagues. I don't know his stats. Do you know he had like a 20 and 14 assist game with good some rebounds? I know he had a teens in points with 11 rebounds and a couple of assists. I think 6 assists. Braden Podziemski has to be a pickup now. He has to be a pickup. With all these players out, has to be a pickup. And if you didn't listen to me, that's on you. That's on you. And, I'm going to have some good pickups and good players to say to pick up in the future. So stick around. Yeah, but Brandon Podziemski has played himself a excellent role. Steve Kerr loves his guys that, excel expectations, and he has. I'm very excited to see what could happen with the Golden State Warriors potentially this season, because will they make a move in the trade deadline? That'll be a video for Friday we'll talk about, probably, about the trade deadline, but we'll have to see what happens. I'm very excited about it. Up next, the Memphis Grizzlies. Who's injured? Almost everyone at this point. I hope you saw the graphic that 13 players were out last night against the Celtics. 13 players. And you might ask, how did they even play? Well, they had David Roddy, Luke Kennard, and I think two or three two-way contracts, and a couple 10-day contracts. Crazy stuff. Are the Grizzlies tanking? And when I say tanking, I mean purposely tanking, because there's kind of tanking on which you trade for all the bad assets and you're purposely you're doing bad, but it's not really your fault because you're trying to tank to do better. Or with all the talent they have, are they just kind of extending injuries, resting players, whatever? I don't know at this point. John, Desmond Bane are probably actually out. Jaren Jackson maybe not as much. It's crazy at this point, man. I would not expect the Memphis Grizzlies to be as low as they are in seeding with 13 players out. But here we are. Vince Williams and Santi Aldama are two players that were out yesterday. But when you look at all the ads, Vince Williams is now looking like the starting guy for them when it comes to... I feel like I had a hair in my mouth. Vince Williams looks like the starting guy for them when it comes to playing these next 3 games, which is just crazy because Jaren Jackson Jr. has been out for a little bit. Santi Aldama is a nice guy that could be very good in 9-cat leagues. When you're looking at points leagues, I would go with Luke Kennard. Definitely another person that could get that starting role, even though he did ishy against Celtics. And Scottie Pippen Jr. Is it Scottie Pippen? Yeah, Scottie Pippen Jr. Did better than him and David Roddy, which are two big players, which maybe pick up Scottie Pippen Jr. at this point. I don't know what to expect for them going against the New York Knicks. Players should be back. If not, this is crazy again. But Memphis Grizzlies, the fact is with fantasy, when all these players are out, this is what we love about fantasy, that you can pick somebody up and there's a chance that he's going to produce the same amount of stats as a Damian Lillard on a okay night, which is insane because all you did was just pick him up, put him in your roster because there was injuries. That's the thing about fantasy that you gotta love. So I would keep an eye out on all the Memphis Grizzlies and see what could happen there. Up next, we have the New York Knicks. Julius Randle sucks. It just sucks. Julius Randle doesn't suck. I'm saying Julius Randle injury sucks because, all-star season, and you could agree or disagree with that. I don't know where I would lean on that, but sucks that he got injured. Gonna miss the all-star game. The Knicks were doing so well, and they're doing very well still because they traded for their little new toy in OG Anunoby, and now OG Anunoby has been injured, and we'll see if he comes back. Quentin Grimes has also been injured. I had Quentin Grimes in here because I want to talk that he's in somebody that could potentially be shopped in the trade deadline, so it'd be very interesting what could happen. Potential ads. Isaiah Hartenstein, probably not as much, availability-wise available in your leagues. I would hope he is, though, for your sake, because I love Isaiah Hartenstein. I think he's a real dog when it comes down to it. Dante DiVincenzo, somebody that has had a 30-point game recently. It feels like he has that crazy game every 2 weeks, and he had it. So maybe do you add him this week? Maybe not, but with all the players out, probably do. Josh Hart, another player that probably good for 9-cat leagues in the way that he can get rebounds and he can still pass the ball. Very, very great player. But the New York Knicks against Memphis, probably easier schedule. Dallas, probably a little harder, and Indiana, probably a little harder. It's going to be very interesting to see when OG Anunoby would come back during this stretch, because I think that with all these other players, they could definitely step up. And it's Tom Thibodeau. He's not going to go deep into his bench like we maybe see from a lot of other teams. He's going to just play his starters for 40-something minutes. And it happens all the time. And do you blame that on the Derrick Rose injury too when it comes to that? A lot of people do. But it's going to be very interesting to see if he would maybe dig a little deeper when it comes to some of his stars. Up next, Oklahoma City Thunder. Jalen Williams, Isaiah Joe have been out for quite some time. I think they got injured on the Minnesota Timberwolves game on that Monday when I recorded the video. They've been out this whole week, which, isn't amazing. But Jalen Williams, Isaiah Joe have been out, and I would say Isaiah Joe is probably their right now sixth man. You can maybe make a case for Cason Wallace when it comes to that, but I think he is the sixth man for them because of how much he scores, and late games they'll try and put him in for scoring. I see a world where the Utah game they're still out, but when it comes to Dallas and Sacramento they come back. So when we're looking at the Utah game at Utah, Cason Wallace is another pickup, the guy that you could pick up. Aaron Wiggins, I'm going to add on here because of the Raptors game. Had an excellent game against the Raptors where, for the Thunder, almost all their players, I think they had 5 players with 20 plus, which is crazy. And the Raptors almost had that too. All around game from each of the guys. You really like to see that. And I think with Aaron Wiggins being somebody that has defensive capabilities with offensive capabilities that the Oklahoma City Thunder love, that's why Jalen Williams is such an excellent player. He could definitely be getting some big minutes, especially after that outing. Up next for the Philadelphia 76ers, and this is another topic I really want to talk about. Joel Embiid. It sucks. It sucks to see him out for so long. Out for probably the rest of the season / back in playoffs. I don't know. I hope they don't rush this at all. I saw something that it says he'll be out for 1 to 2 months. But he'll probably be out for quite some time. We'll have to see if they try and rush it in the playoffs. I don't think they will, though, because I think they should be smart about with Joel Embiid, because this is your guy forever. Games against Dallas, Golden State, Atlanta, Washington. Washington probably not as much hard, but the others probably a little bit hard. Maybe Atlanta not as much. With Joel Embiid out, Nicholas Batum, DeAnthony Melton, I think Robert Covington starting to look like he's going to be out for quite some time still. Who are the ads? And if I to my surprise, Kelly Oubre was somebody that was less than the 50% availability. Kelly Oubre should be a pickup. If Paul Reed is available in your leagues, please pick up Paul Reed. He has been someone that has been excellent for the whole, Joel Embiid. When he is out, Paul Reed steps up. Kelly Oubre Jr., another player that is, excellent and can score the ball. We saw what he did in the Hornets when he had a bigger role. 76ers, though, they're going to have to lean on somebody to score more. It's probably going to be Tobias Harris to start being that second player like how he was back when he was with the Clippers, It could be, Kelly Oubre stepping up to be that third man for the team, with Maxey being the one right now. It could be Paul Reed becoming that guy that's going to be somebody that's huge when it comes down to the things. We'll have to see, but something's going to have to change, because right now, when you're competing against the Utah Jazz last-second win, it's kind of scary when you're looking at the East how they could do and how far they could go, because right now, it's not looking that far. Up next, and I think to the last, Washington Wizards. 3 games against Cleveland, Boston, and Philly. A hard stretch. This is a hard week for the Washington Wizards. Kyle Kuzma out last game, has been questionable for quite some time. Does he miss a game? We'll have to see. Maybe that was his game that he rests so then he can go to the Cleveland game. Tyus Jones has been, I think, just played last game, but he's also listed as questionable, and he's been questionable for a while. Corey Kispert and Denny Avdija, I would probably pick up. If Denny is still available in your leagues, please pick him up. I think that it was like about 59 to 60 something % availability in Yahoo leagues. I didn't check ESPN. But if he is available, I would instantly pick him up because of how, when Poole, when Tyus Jones, when Kyle Kuzma aren't playing to tier, Denny is usually the guy for them that has to step up. And his ability to be a 3-and-D player that has great passing ability it's excellent and it fits perfectly with a lot of play, and that's what teams want to have when it comes down to it. And the Wizards have loved Denny. He drafted from the Wizards. He loves Washington. We'll see if he gets traded, though, because of all the rumors that have been happening and how many people love him. And again, fits in well with basketball for some of the teams. Denny should be a pickup, though, if Kyle Kuzma and some other players are out. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And without further ado, I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.